Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. This is the Monday, February 1st edition of the Carolina Weather Video here. I want to first of all start back with a look at the accumulation map I put out on the air Friday morning and here on the blog as well, and compare that to what actually occurred. Again, there's the map I put out, and here is the accumulation map put together by the National Weather Service office out of Raleigh. And not terrible. Pretty good forecast overall in a lot of spots across the region. You had the general idea here, the heaviest snow, 7 to 12 inches, parts of the Triad and on off to the north. Now the Triad and triangle areas that saw the snow were weighted toward the lower end of the ranges indicated, but they were within the range, generally speaking, in most spots. And then you did get up into some 10, 11, 12-inch amounts up close to the Virginia border. The one of the areas that was not quite as good as I would like was the 3 to 6 inches right around Charlotte. Now, of course, Charlotte itself, you had 2 to 3 inch totals. That's not terrible, again, toward the lower end of the range, and there was a decent 3 to 6 inch stripe there, Gaston County, Cabarrus County, Stanley County. So that's not, overall, that wasn't drawn terribly, but Charlotte was a little on the low end of that, and really the southern Piedmont had a lot of the chance to pick up some decent, some more snow amounts cut down by some convection down to the Gulf of Mexico. The atmosphere was supportive of all snow as we went through Friday evening, and a lot of that time we spent with very little in the way of precip outside of that band, that initial band that's set up. So had some precip totals robbed to some extent, or at least lowered by that convection down in the Gulf. But overall, that was not a terrible forecast put out. There's certainly room for improvement, as there almost always is. But the general ideas were there. Some folks are a little disappointed with the amounts overall, but generally speaking, not a terrible forecast. All right, we go on out to the modeling. Things stay interesting here. Stay with me here. A lot to talk about. This is a look at 1 o'clock this afternoon here on the 6C run of the GFS. A quiet day, a chance to continue to thaw out. Highs into 40s, but quick-hitting storm systems coming. This is a look at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Next system lifting up the coast, and that's going to spread precipitation in. Probably around Charlotte during the pre-dawn hours, and then spreading up toward the Triad and Triangle regions fairly close to daybreak. And with this residual cold air mass still in place, it is quite possible that temperatures will drop at or even slightly below freezing for a brief period late tonight and tomorrow morning as that rain begins to fall. So that means a brief period of freezing rain is possible. Charlotte, the Triad, maybe the Triangle as well. Now, in a lot of spots, this will probably, if it does occur, wind up being freezing rain in name only. But in some spots, it could be enough to cause some glazing on some elevated surfaces especially. And there's already going to be some issues around with refreezing again tonight on some area roadways, and this would just sort of add a little bit to that problem tomorrow morning. This is not an ice storm by any means, but it could be enough to cause some glazing on some elevated surfaces very early tomorrow morning before we just see a chilly rain then linger for much of the day tomorrow. Highs in the upper 30s to around 40 in most spots tomorrow afternoon across the North Carolina Piedmont. All right, then we get a quiet day Wednesday, but notice the moisture already really pooling here in the southern plains. That's our next system pulling in. Here you are, Gulf low pressure area being indicated 1 o'clock Thursday in the afternoon, high pressure off to our north. And watch what happens here. Again, this is the GFS. And you have some cold air damming setting itself up as that low begins to lift in. Chilly pattern in place with that low pressure lifting in. And taken verbatim here, the GFS indicates a quick hit of some wintry precip late Thursday, especially Thursday evening, we'll say, into Thursday night. Kicking over to mostly rain in most Piedmont sections Friday, and then as the system pulls away, could end to some wintry precip. Again, that's the GFS. Let me show you the UK Met. And all the modeling is generally on board with the scenario of some type of low lifting out of the Gulf and some degree of cold air damming here across the interior Carolinas. This is the European. Same type of deal. It looks like if you take the European verbatim, wintry precip to start, many spots kicking over to rain, and then ending maybe as some snow Friday night into parts of Saturday. And then finally the Canadian, same general idea. It's a little further inland with the low. It's more of a rainy scenario. But the general idea here is that another potential winter weather event for some spots, especially along to the north and west of Interstate 85, coming up Thursday, Friday, into Saturday. How that exactly plays out, what types of precipitation, how much rain's involved, I don't know yet. But the potential is there for more wintry precip late this week. And don't look now, but we've been talking about this fun pattern in February. If you like winter weather, I see nothing to change my idea on that. Notice on the European here, active southern branch of the jet stream. GFS shows that as well. This is the European on the left, GFS on the right, and we're averaging the day 7 to 10 pattern on the 500 millibar chart or the upper air chart. Again, notice active southern branch of the jet stream. With this low pressure in place in southeastern Canada, that keeps everything fairly suppressed to the south, or at least most of the storm systems. And you have some degree of ridging up here in Canada, keeping some degree of cold air around. So looks like an interesting pattern with a fairly cold pattern and a suppressed storm track here as we go through a good chunk of February. So the fun and games likely not over in terms of wintry precip chances. All right, that is it for today's edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.